Hey guys, how you doing? Hopefully you're doing okay. Going to do a quick audio check. Let's make sure that's working. I'll give a quick intro whilst I'm trying to get this to work. Why isn't this working? Come on. I think the audio should be working, but we'll just double check. So I'm going to do another live stream. All right, that seems to be working. Going to do another live stream for give or take an hour. Perhaps I'll panic midway through and call it quits. Very possible, quite possible. But I've got about 10, 11, 12 articles that I'd like to go through with your good selves. I've somewhat prepared all of them. I'm not going to be going through every last word of each of them. Some of them I'm just going to be touching on. But we can stop and have a little bit of a chat in regards to any of them. Should you guys pop in? If you're listening to this after the fact, which may well be the case, then please remember to like, comment, subscribe, of course. Yeah, you can drop a comment. Tell me what you think. Let me know if this is an enjoyable stream or such. If you appreciate the coverage and the topics, etc., etc. Express your thoughts on some of the cases that we're going to go over. So it's all true crime, of course. The articles have been published today, perhaps yesterday. Generally breaking news. If anyone is listening right here, right now, please do pop in and say hello. It just gives me a little bit of boost, a little bit of energy, a little bit of confidence, a little bit of company, which is very, very welcome. Enough of my intro waffle. Let's get cracking and start with the first article, which is a very tragic situation that you might well have heard of. In India, a bridge collapsed very recently and 134 people have died. 134 people have been killed, and that number may increase. There have been, of course, a number of tragedies along these lines. Well, kind of along these lines. I mean, there was the stampede in South Korea just a couple of days ago, 150 plus people that died. And this happened pretty much at the around about the same kind of time frame. This happened on Sunday. A suspension bridge in India's western Gujarat state collapsed and killed at least 134 people. This article is telling us that an investigation has, started and is making progress, and 9 people have been arrested in regards to the collapse of the suspension bridge. They're all associated with one particular company, which is called Arriva, which is a Gujarat-based electrical appliances manufacturer. And apparently, this company Arriva or Arriva, however it's pronounced, apparently the company performed maintenance on this bridge. And the bridge only reopened last week after repairs, and it collapsed. Okay, so that's what this article is telling us, that the investigation so far has led to the arrest of 9 people, all associated with the company that was responsible for the repair of the bridge, the very recent repair of the bridge. The 9 that have been arrested include 2 managers, 2 ticket clerks, 2 contractors, and 3 security guards. The suspects are being investigated for culpable homicide. Culpable homicide, not amounting to murder. So it's not intentional. This is, I guess the correct term would be an accident. We believe, maybe not. There is some speculation in regards to that, but these guys that worked for the maintenance company have been arrested and are being investigated for culpable homicide. At least 134 people, including 30 children, died when the bridge collapsed into the river on Sunday evening at around 6:30 p.m. local time. As locals in the town joined Diwali celebrations. So I'm not going to pretend that I know what Diwali celebrations are, but there were celebrations in the early evening Sunday, and approximately 200 people were on the bridge at the time. And seemingly one of the cables is a suspension bridge, or it was a suspension bridge. Apparently, one of the cables appeared to have snapped. The bridge collapsed into the river. 134 people died, including 30 children. So I'm going to play a couple of videos. So we're going to play this one first of all, which is going to show the aftermath. It's going to show the collapsed bridge and people struggling in the river. And of course, some of these people will have died. Others will have been injured, perhaps rescued. So I'll give you that trigger warning. I'm going to play this, then I'm going to play another video which kind of adds to a bit of a controversy. So we'll play this one to begin with no audio. So this is immediately after the collapse of the bridge. People hanging on. Some people are able to swim, but others aren't, and others would have been injured in the fall and subsequently would have drowned. So I don't want to play the whole CNN clip there, but there is that, which shows you the aftermath. But I'm also going to play this video here, right? So when this incident happened, I should say, when this tragedy happened, Sunday evening, India time, I saw these clips online, and we'll see in the middle here, right? There's some people here in the middle that seem to me, I could be grossly incorrect here, right? But it seems to me that they are potentially sabotaging the bridge. You know, we can see right here in this still, one hand grasping the side of the bridge. There's perhaps another hand grasping the side of the bridge. Okay, which is kind of normal. You know, you're on a suspension bridge and perhaps it felt shaky. So perhaps they were grabbing on just for stabilization to protect themselves. But it seems like they could have been trying to damage the bridge. And if we do look, I'm not an engineer, right? But this to me, pardon me, guys in India, but this to me just looks like an incredibly shitty bridge. What is this? Barbed wire? I mean, the railings are just not barbed wire, just like chain link fencing. That's all it is. Well, that's not very good, is it? Look how narrow it is. I think it's been described as 4 foot wide, which for a bridge is not wide at all. 200 plus people on this bridge. Look, I mean, it's pretty long. I don't know how long it is. This article probably tells us how long it is. 230-meter long bridge. I mean, that's pretty long, I think, as bridges go. It's not a short bridge. With 200 plus people on it, if it was made out of brick and concrete, sure, but this is made out of steel. Look at these, whatever these are called, these suspension cabling. Is that what it is? I mean, it's thin. I live in Sydney. We've got the Sydney Harbour Bridge over here, designed by Brunel. There's a very similar bridge in Newcastle, England. I think I'm right in saying. I mean, that's a bridge. That is a bridge. We've got the Glebe Bridge in Sydney. These are impressive bridges. This one here is not. So I'm going to play this video, just a clip, and we're just going to keep an eye out to see if we feel these guys are sabotaging the bridge. Look, we can see, what is this guy doing? It looks like, I mean, this is the clip that I saw at the time this happened. Saw it online. And look, this guy in particular, he's shaking side by side. He's got a hand on both sides of the bridge. And then lo and behold, it collapses. So, look, my take on it is that guy there fucked this bridge up. Now, of course, shaking side to side shouldn't have been enough to lead to the collapse of the bridge. It shouldn't have been. But it looks like that it was enough. And look at this fencing. I mean, that's just pathetic, guys. Come on, India. You must be better than this. I know I'm not trying to be overly inappropriate, But that bridge just looks like a disaster waiting to happen. Add on to that 200 people, add on to that a smart ass or two that want to see if they can fuck the bridge up. Lo and behold, you get 134 people dead. So, of course, full condolences to all of the victims. There really needs to be an investigation in regards to whoever authorized this bridge. I don't think it's just about the maintenance, to be honest. If that was, brand spanking new, but just using those materials and using that design, it's a piece of shit bridge. I don't think you should necessarily blame the maintenance guys. You need to blame whomever's responsible for building it in the first place, given it such a low, pathetic budget. I mean, that's my take on it. And also, you need to investigate that fuckwit in the middle there that was shaking it. You need to investigate him. Perhaps he's dead. I mean, I'll be an arsehole. I'll say, hopefully he is. I don't know. Am I allowed to say such things? I just did. So I'm now going to move on. Condolences to all of the other families, though, of course, naturally. All of the families of the victims. It is a significant tragedy, but I don't know. It just seems needless. We're going to move on. This is in regards to a murder case, which I did make a video on at the time. This lady here was murdered. She was found stashed in her son's hockey bag. There was Ring doorbell camera footage of somebody pulling the bag past the front of the house, and it was a mystery for a while as to what had happened. But seemingly, her lover, she's married. She was married, but her lover has pled guilty in court to having killed her. He fatally stabbed the lady. The lady's name is Orsolia Gall, if I pronounce that correctly, 51 years of age, Orsolia Gall. As I say, and I'm not trying to be overly judgmental, she was married. She lived in the family home, as far as I understand, with her husband, with her son, who I think is, I'm not sure if it tells us here, but I think he's, quite mature, like 18, 19, if I recall correctly. And she was having, if I understand correctly, and apologies if I have this wrong, I'm somewhat going by memory because I did cover this topic back in April of this year. But if I understand correctly, it was strongly suspected, and I believe at this point it's been confirmed, that she was having an affair with a handyman. The handyman was working on the property for 2 years, and seemingly during those 2 years, he was, or for a portion of the time, he was having an affair with the lady of the house, the victim, Orsolia Gall, and the handyman has confessed in court to having stabbed her 58 times in the basement of the house that he was working on before stuffing her body in a duffel bag, which he dumped half a mile from her home. The lady's son was upstairs at the time this had happened. He was completely unawares. But tragically, that is what happened. So he's agreed. The scumbag in question is called David Bonola, 44 years of age. He's agreed to a 25-year sentence. So he's taken a plea deal for first-degree manslaughter. I don't know why it's not first-degree murder, but first-degree manslaughter. Why did he do this? Well, because seemingly he suspected that the victim was cheating on him. Yeah, so if I understand this correctly, and again, apologies if I have this wrong, she's a married woman. She's having perhaps a 2-year-long affair with her lover, who's the handyman at the premises. And that handyman, rightfully or wrongfully, suspected that she was cheating on him, so sleeping with a third man, I guess. and he was apparently angry because he suspected that she had given him HIV. So that's what it says here. Also, the perpetrator, Benola, is married himself, apparently. And that's pretty much the information that we have. So I'm going to say that is somewhat good news that justice is being served, that he has confessed to the murder. He's accepted a plea deal. He's going to be sentenced to 25 years. He's agreed to a 25-year sentence. Is that enough for taking somebody's life? No, not really. But in America, in Australia, in the United Kingdom, probably in a lot of countries in the world, 25 years is considered a long sentence for murder. Not long enough. I would go for the death penalty each and every time. But there can be some benefits of a plea deal. But in any case, full condolences to the family, to the husband who was away on business, if I recall, and to the son who, as I say, was at the premises, at the family home at the time of his mother's murder. Full condolences all around. But we're going to move on, and somebody else has been arrested. So this is a serious situation, of course, but the blessing is that somebody has been arrested. So the police say, so on Tuesday, 2 New Jersey police officers were shot, and the police were looking for a suspect. They were looking for this person here, who ran off, and apparently he shot the 2 officers whilst being arrested. In the process of being arrested, there was an altercation with the officers, and he shot one in the leg and one in the shoulder. The officers returned fire, but this guy fled, and there's been a search for him, and thankfully he's been arrested. He's currently in custody. His name is Kendall Howard, 30 years of age, and he's been charged with attempted murder, unlawful possession of a weapon, and possession of a weapon for an unlawful purpose. So both officers are in stable condition. It's expected they'll both make a full recovery. So there's that blessing. So of course, it's not good that 2 officers were shot in New Jersey on Tuesday, but it is good that the suspect has been found and is currently in custody. So there's a bit of a blessing, I guess. We're going to move on to the next topic here. This is in regards to a tragic case which happened in September 2019. This scumbag on the left, who was 18 at the time of this crime, murdered a 16-year-old boy. Why? Well, because there was an argument about somebody else's ex-girlfriend. There was an argument about a girl, and this idiot and his bunch of mates decided to attack a 16-year-old boy. And tragically, the 16-year-old boy, his name Cassine Morris, was killed. So the article tells us that Long Island jurors on Tuesday convicted a young man of murdering a 16-year-old boy in a petty fight over somebody else's ex-girlfriend. Tyler Flock, this guy, now 21 years of age, will face sentencing next month. So he's been found guilty and he's going to be sentenced next month. Charges in the case included second-degree murder and first-degree gang assault. The defense maintained Tyler Flock, did not mean to kill the 16-year-old victim, Cassine Morris, but the jurors and the prosecutors agreed, or believed rather, that it was intentional homicide. So this happened after Cassine walked a friend home, a girl. They were at a party. He decided to do the right thing, to be a gentleman, to be a protector. 16 years of age, doing the right thing. and he escorted the young lady home. We don't know the full details of that young lady. And apparently this angered the lady's ex-boyfriend, who is Tyler Flack. Tyler Flack was 18 years of age. He and 7 other teens attacked the victim, Cassine Morris. So 8 boys attacked a 16-year-old. 8. So this happened at a strip mall. He's the one that's been found guilty of having stabbed Cassine Morris, leading to his death. So he's been convicted of all charges against him, which includes second-degree murder. And that's just awful for the family. Of course, the family welcome the verdict. And he faces 25 years to life in prison. Well deserved. I would have given him the death penalty. So it is said here that Tyler Flack attacked Cassine alongside 7 other boys that attacked Cassine. It was a gang attack. They grouped up and attacked him. I don't know if there was, typical gang activity. I'm guessing, it could be wrong, but I think it was more like there were a bunch of friends. I don't know, could be entirely wrong. But they intentionally stabbed Cassine in the chest, or Tyler Flack did intentionally stab Cassine in the chest, piercing his heart. And with that, Cassine lost his life later that evening. So a terrible case. Again, this happened September 2019. And here is the victim, Cassine Morris, 16 years of age, beaten and then stabbed in the heart. So I'm glad that this scumbag has been found guilty. I'm glad that he's going to be spending 25 years to life in jail. Let's hope that the judge upheld a very strong sentence. Got a question about what's happening with the other boys or young men that were involved in the fight. Do they not have any culpability? Perhaps not. I don't know the full details. I mean, this scumbag here stabbed Cassine in the heart. So perhaps the other bullies, the other assailants, the other thugs, the other gang members, didn't do anything close to that. Perhaps, I'm kind of rambling a little bit. Being a part of a group of 7 or 8 people attacking one person, even if it's just fists, that's bad enough. So yeah, I would like to see some level of culpability for anyone and everyone that's involved with the murder of Cassine. So we're going to move on to the next article. Just a quick reminder, if you are watching, do say hello. It's actually quite nerve-wracking to do a live stream on my own. I find I'm kind of enjoying it, and I do like it when you come in and have a little chat with me. But I'm trying to do a good job, and I get a little bit anxious because I feel like I'm not doing quite as good as I would like, and sometimes I'm not quite relaxed. I like being relaxed, and I'm not quite there. And these are very challenging topics to go over. So do say hello. We're going to move on to this tragedy here, which is kind of related in that it's another knife death, although this is a sword death. So it's actually quite a long article. Perhaps I'll give you an overview. This is the victim. Her name is Grace Jennings, and she was found just on Saturday dead in a garage in New Mexico. Here are the 2 alleged culprits. Both have been charged with first-degree murder in regards to the murder of Grace Jennings. So I'll give you a bit of an overview. So this person here, Kiara McCulley, 19 years of age, she's the girlfriend of this guy here, Isaac Apodaca. And apparently Grace Jennings is the ex-girlfriend of Isaac Abadoka. Erica Hart, you're doing pretty well. Thank you very much, Erica. Do you know what you get for that comment? Well, make another and you'll find out. All right. So, okay, yeah. So this guy, Isaac, used to be in a relationship with Grace. They used to be boyfriend, girlfriend. But now he's in a relationship with Kiara. And they live in a garage in New Jersey. Here's the property. Sorry, New Jersey? That's wrong. New Mexico. And what am I saying? Oh, yeah, that's right. And Grace asked them both, or perhaps just asked Kiara, if she could sleep the night in the garage. I don't know if that's because she's homeless. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. Not entirely sure. But she did. She slept the night and she stayed in the bed with Kiara. Now, if I understand correctly, and I can read through the details again just to make sure, but in the morning, Isaac came to the garage. He didn't sleep over there overnight. He came to the garage. Kiara explained that Grace had spent the night. And Isaac apparently went to the bathroom, or he left the garage for a few minutes. When he returned, Grace Jennings had been stabbed with a sword, and I believe she was dead at that point. So Isaac claims that he wasn't aware of the situation, that he wasn't in the room at the time or in the garage at the time that Kiara McCulley stabbed Grace Jennings with a sword, from which she subsequently died. Now, seemingly, there's a little bit more information which has come out, and that is that perhaps the three of them are in a mutual sexual relationship, the three of them, which I'm not making any judgment on. Kiara claims to have some mental illness, which it tells us in the article. I can skim through that in a moment, but it's schizophrenia. No, she has undiagnosed multiple personality disorder, apparently. Apparently. I mean, the guy from the Parkland shooting, that's pretty much what he claimed, isn't it, initially? Claimed to have multiple personality disorder. Perhaps that's true, perhaps it isn't. And there is Grace. So Grace had her body had multiple stab wounds and trauma that reflected the intent to decapitate her. Seemingly, a 19-year-old girl was capable of stabbing to death Grace Jennings and even attempting to decapitate her, potentially. So this all happened on Friday night. No. Yeah, it happened on Friday night. Grace's body was found on Saturday. So this is just within the last few days. So the investigation is very much at the beginning. But both Kiara McCulley, 19 years of age, and her boyfriend Isaac Apodaca, both of them have been charged with first-degree murder in connection with the death of Grace Jennings, who is 21 years of age. Cops arrived at the scene Saturday around 2 p.m. after they received a call from Isaac Apodaca's mom that Kiara was killing a woman in the garage. So it was the garage of Isaac's parents, or Isaac's mom at least. And seemingly from this line here within the article, Isaac's mom witnessed Kiara killing Grace. There was a bloody sword next to Grace's body. Several injuries consistent with being cut or stabbed with a sharp object. Injuries consistent with attempts to decapitate. So the police have confirmed that they did collect a metal sword but they're not releasing a great deal of information at this point, given that it's so early in the investigation. Full condolences to the family of the victim, of course. An absolute tragedy. And why? It just seems absolutely senseless. So there perhaps could be some jealousy at play. Grace is the ex-girlfriend of Isaac Apodaca, if however I pronounce his name. But seemingly there's suggestions that the three of them were in a mutual relationship. So I don't know if it would be jealousy or not. I'm going to say something which you might find a little offensive. This picture here of the victim, Grace Jennings, I'm going to say this. I don't really know if I believe what I'm about to say, but if we look at her t-shirt, if we look at her top, look, I'm no expert here, but that's a Star of David, is that right? But I don't know. Like, I don't know too much about Satanism, but every now and then you see on the internet, you see satanic symbols, and to me, that resembles a satanic symbol. Am I right? I could be wrong. I really don't know. I'm not saying that it is, but I'm just thinking as to what would lead a 19-year-old girl to to literally murder her friend, perhaps her lover, and also to go, I mean, I'll say to go further, which may not be the right words, but would also go to the extremes of attempting to decapitate her. What would lead a girl to that? Okay, it may be that she's a complete Looney Tune, that she suffers from multiple personality disorders or some other significant mental illness. It could be that. But I'm just wondering if their relationship had a satanic element to it, you know? I mean, it is a thing. People do worship Satan. Some people do. People, indulge in witchcraft and whatever else. Could it be related? I don't know. But look, there's this article here, this tragedy. 21-year-old Grace Jennings, her life taken away. Absolutely terrible. Full condolences to the family. And hopefully my comments haven't been offensive to the family. I'm not stating that I believe that she is a Satanist, but I've got to question things. I've got to be honest. There is a GoFundMe here. You guys might want to contribute if you're in a position to. They've got quite a long way towards their goal of $20,000. They've got just under $16,000. That's a fairly modest goal in my mind. At least one very generous donator, $2,000. But of course, this is just going to help with funeral arrangements, just help the family with the incredibly tough time that they're going through. They're not trying to profit from it in my mind. It's a very reasonable amount in my mind. But in any case, full condolences to the family. I do hope that they do as well as they need to get in their GoFundMe, and that they are able to have a pleasant memorial, a memorial that Grace would deserve. So I'm going to move on, and I'm going to give a bit of a trigger warning moving forward. The next several cases are going to involve children. Now, I do need to say, Erica, you're doing pretty well. Thank you. So I made you a moderator. That's what I meant. If it didn't come across, I made you a moderator. So if you had made another comment, you would have seen I'd made you a moderator. Anyway, all right. So let's move on to the next topic here, and this is super sad. Trigger warning. It involves the young girl that you see in front of you. I do have to scroll down to read through the article, but essentially, she was kidnapped. 1 year of age. She was kidnapped by her own father. There was a police chase. The police chase came to an end The father stepped out of the car, and the young girl was already bloodied. She had been stabbed. The man stabbed herself as well. Erica says, "Thank you. You're welcome." Eric, oh, sorry, what am I doing? The father seemingly had stabbed himself as well, and both of them died. So 1-year-old Leilani Ordonez, if I pronounce her name correctly, murdered by her own father who had kidnapped her. So I'll read through the details. A 1-year-old Texas girl and her father are both dead after he reportedly kidnapped the toddler from her babysitter's home and fled with her in a stolen tow truck. So seemingly this guy, the father, stole a tow truck from his employer. He'd recently been fired, his former employer. So he'd recently been fired. And he had attacked his former employer, the owner of the tow truck company. So an Amber Alert was issued Tuesday night for Leilani Ordonez after the father, Alexander Barrios Ordonez, 24 years of age, entered a business, a tow trucking business, stabbed a man, and stole his tow truck. Yeah, so he went into his former employer's business, stabbed his previous boss, and then stole the tow truck. The tow truck owner's daughter has said that the tow truck owner is expected to recover. So there's a blessing. Then the scumbag father, Alexander Barrios Ordonez, drove the stolen tow truck to the babysitter's home. This happened in Rosenberg, Texas. The father forced his way inside the babysitter's home, took 1-year-old Leilani Ordonez, his daughter, and they sped off in the tow truck, in the stolen tow truck. This happened 6 p.m. Tuesday evening, Rosenberg, Texas. The truck was found at around 2 a.m. the following morning, Wednesday morning, and there was a 1-hour-long police car chase. The police threw out spike strips. He went over the spike strips, the tires burst. The vehicle came to a halt. The scumbag father exited the truck with Leilani Ordonez in his arms, and she was already bloodied. She was already bloodied. Seemingly, if I understand correctly, and I may not, at that point, the father stabbed himself at that point after coming out of the truck. Here's a quote from one of the officers, or one of the lieutenants on the scene. "We don't know the exact moment when the baby was injured, but we do know that when he exited the vehicle, the baby was already bloody. We don't know if it happened right before he exited the vehicle, but we do know that it didn't happen when he did exit." So this one lieutenant is saying that they don't know exactly when the father stabbed Leilani, his own daughter, 1 year of age, but they suspect that it happened directly before leaving the vehicle. It didn't happen after. It did not happen in front of the officers, directly in front of the officers. But my interpretation of the information we have here is that perhaps the father did stab himself directly in front of the officers. They were both taken to the hospital, the father and Leilani, and they both died. So it's an absolute tragedy. Leilani Ordonez, 1 year of age, kidnapped by her own father, taken on a 1-hour police chase in Texas. They were spotted by the police. They were stopped. They were apprehended. and seemingly the scumbag father stabbed Leilani whilst in the vehicle, just about prior to having a confrontation with the police, and seemingly he stabbed himself, and tragically the both of them have died. So full condolences to the family concerned, the mother. I mean, what a tragedy to lose their 1-year-old angel, Leilani. I'm not aware of a GoFundMe. I hope there is one. I hope that they are able to get whatever financial support they need at this time. I hope they're able to have a nice memorial for Leilani. But I guess that's perhaps the last thing that's on their mind. Terrible. I really do feel for the mother in particular. So we're going to move on to the next. Again, the next few are going to be involving child murders, child deaths. So I need to give you a trigger warning. We've got a couple of articles, a couple of cases which are very similar in nature. Children being shot. So this one happened in Texas at a Halloween party. This woman here, Eloisa Fraga, 33 years of age, she's been arrested for allegedly shooting an 18-month-old baby. Apparently, this is at a Halloween party in Texas. This woman's playing with a pistol. She's playing with a pistol. The gun goes off. It fires. A bullet is fired. Seemingly accidentally, the bullet strikes the baby, 18 months old. The baby was holding a phone at the time, which is relevant. The baby was holding and playing with a phone at the time. The bullet, of course, went straight through the phone. Forgive me, straight through into the chest of the 18-month-old. And of course, as you would expect, tragically, the baby died. The parents took the 18-month-old to the hospital. Okay, this kind of blows my mind. The parents took the 18-month-old to the hospital, and apparently the parents told medical staff that their 18-month-old child had died or was in the condition that it was in because it was handling a cell phone and that the cell phone exploded. This boggles my mind. Why wouldn't the parents be truthful at that moment? Neither of the parents were the shooter. The shooter, accidental or not, is this woman, Eloisa Fraga. She's not the mother. She's not the mother. So why are the parents giving this cock and bull story that the cell phone exploded? The hospital staff are intelligent people. They realize that the injuries sustained by the 18-month-old baby were not due to an exploding phone. I would dare say that they knew immediately that the 18-month-old had been shot in the chest. So there were other witnesses at the Halloween party. So seemingly details have come forward. Of course, it's very early in the investigation. But seemingly the woman concerned, Eloisa Fraga, was playing with a pistol and the gun went off. The bullet went through the cell phone, which was in the baby's hands. And that has led to the death of the 18-month-old baby. We don't know the baby's name. We don't know if it's a boy or a girl. Either way, I've got to say full condolences to the family, to the parents. But honestly, I'm kind of shocked and disgusted that the parents thought, we don't want to snitch about Eloisa. We must protect Eloisa. oh, let's not say what happened. Let's not say that our baby was shot in the chest by this stupid bitch playing with a gun at a party. Let's not say that. Let's make up a cock and bull story. Let's blame it on the phone. Why would they do that? Like, what is wrong with them? I don't get that. They're really struggling to comprehend that. Why were they not, beside themselves? How could they not, like, stop from ranting and raving about this stupid fucking bitch, Eloisa Fraga, who allegedly fired a bullet, even if it's accidentally, even if it was unintentional, allegedly, seemingly, from what we know here, which of course is just a preliminary article, no trial has taken place at this point in time. But how could the parents not be incensed? How could they stop themselves from being incensed? How could they lower their anger by even 1%, let alone to the point that they go, oh, yeah, no worries, we'll protect you, Eloisa Fraga. You seem like a nice person. You're at the Halloween party with us. We're all having a nice time up until this tragedy. I'm being a little bit too facetious, perhaps, but I'm just really disgusted at the parents. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't expect that they'll watch this video. I mean, condolences to the parents, but I'm shocked and disgusted with their attempts to protect the culprit that led to the death of their child. I'm also shocked and disgusted by this final part within the article. So this woman, Eloisa Fraga, was taken into custody at approximately 12:57 p.m. on Monday. She was booked into the local jail, Bexar County Jail, and then guess what? She was released later that day. She had a $75,000 bond. So somebody paid whatever the required percentage of that bond would be. So that could be 10%. So someone came up with $7,500. She gets to walk the very same day that she's taken into custody. Is that right? Is that how society works? Is it? You shoot and kill a baby and you get to walk from jail if you've got $7,500 floating around. Is that how society works? That's a fucked up society. That is terrible, Texas. Why did you allow this to happen? Am I being the asshole here? Am I being inconsiderate? Because seemingly there's a very good chance that this was completely accidental. One of those things. Whoopsie daisy. She didn't mean it. She is a woman. Forgive me. Some of you won't like what I'm about to say. She has a vagina. Don't punish her. Don't be too mean to her. She's got a vagina. I'm being facetious because I'm angry that a lot of these cases that I go through, women get way too much of a pass. I mean, why? Because they got vaginas. That's the only thing I can think of. Why the fuck do they get such a pass? This woman seemingly, allegedly, potentially is responsible for the killing, not murder, but killing of an 18-month-old child, an 18-month-old baby, an 18-month-old toddler. Why does she get to walk away? Like, how the fuck does that happen? How the fuck doesn't the Texas judge say, you know what? This might have been an accident. This might have been a tragedy. You might be incredibly regretful, incredibly remorseful. This may be completely unintentional. There might have even been a fault with the gun for all we know at this point in time. As Alec Baldwin might say. But Eloisa Fraga seemingly, allegedly, you are playing with the gun, a loaded gun, and that has resulted in the death of a baby, and you have to be held accountable for that. You have to be, for the sake of justice, for the sake of the community. I mean, aren't we as communities, as civilizations, as Western nations, aren't we supposed to have like morals and values and shit? Isn't that how we're supposed to do things? You know, have principles, try to do the right thing. So when this kind of situation happens, is it the right thing to give these people a pass? In my opinion, no. She should have been given a much, much higher bond. She should not have been allowed the opportunity to walk the same day that she's been made in custody. This next article that I'm going to go through is disgustingly similar. This happened in North Carolina last month, October. A 2-year-old boy, a 2-year-old toddler, I think it's a boy. Yes, a boy. Warren Bennett Osa, 2-year-old Warren Bennett Osa, accidentally shot and killed himself after finding his father's loaded gun in his pickup truck. Okay, so the father wasn't in the truck at the time, I think. This happened October the 15th around 6 p.m. The boy, 2-year-old Warren Bennett Osa, climbed into his dad's pickup truck. The door was open. He found a loaded Smith & Wesson 40 caliber handgun in the front seat. The 2-year-old played with the gun, and forgive me, he accidentally shot himself in the head. He was taken to the hospital. He was pronounced dead. Here is the boy. His name, Warren Bennett Osa. Died October the 15th. Okay, so the treatment of the father, I'm not happy with. The father's name, Tyler Osa. So again, this is his gun, the father's gun. Loaded in the weapon, in the car. Car door was open. It doesn't say the car door was unlocked. It says the car door was open. The father would not have wanted this to happen. I'm not suggesting that he would have. And he's going to be charged with failure to properly and safely secure his firearms to protect minors. A very fair and reasonable charge, if you ask me. If anything, a little bit too reasonable. So the father is to be charged. But I've got to say that and maybe I'm a complete asshole here. Maybe I lack empathy or sympathy in some cases. But the father, who I presume is absolutely heartbroken, absolutely devastated, but he's got this relatively minor charge, as far as I understand, and he has the full support of his family members, and to the extent that there's a GoFundMe to raise money. I mean, for him and his legal, I guess it's going to go to his legal costs. I don't know. I just feel a little bit uncomfortable about this. The father is culpable to some extent. He is culpable. Seemingly, he is culpable to some extent. He did not intend for this to happen. Perhaps it's perfectly reasonable for the man to have a loaded gun in his car. Perhaps we could say it's one of those things that the car door was left open. The father didn't think of what could possibly happen. We can't be vigilant every second of every day. Perhaps, I don't know. I don't have children. And of course, the father is devastated, no doubt. But I don't know. I just feel a little bit uncomfortable about a GoFundMe in this situation. That's just me. So I'm not going to link to the GoFundMe. I typically do. But that's my feeling. Maybe I'm being ridiculous. Maybe I'm lacking some level of humanity in this case. But to me, I wouldn't want to see the culprit, somebody that's culpable in relation to the death of a 2-year-old. I wouldn't want them to benefit financially from that situation, which I fear is what will happen, seeing as there's a GoFundMe. But anyway, there's that tragedy. And of course, full condolences to the mother and the other members of the family that are naturally completely devastated. Perhaps they are doing the right thing by standing by the father. Perhaps he is a very good man. Perhaps my view is clouded. But we're going to move on to the next tragedy, and it is a tragedy. A 2-year-old girl has gone missing, and authorities are looking through a Texas landfill, so a rubbish dump. This is an absolute tragedy. So the girl, Nadia Lee, 2 years of age, was last seen October the 15th, and it's suspected that she was murdered by her father. Her father, Jiron Charles Lee, 26 years of age, he was seen by a dumpster in Pasadena in Texas. And so it's believed, it's suspected that he had killed his own 2-year-old daughter, Nadia Lee, at another location and dumped her body into a dumpster, which was subsequently taken to a landfill, emptied at a landfill. This scumbag, this alleged scumbag, the father, he's also been charged with murdering Nadia's mother, his baby mama, Nancy Reed, 22 years of age. So, as far as I understand, he's strongly suspected of having murdered his baby mama. I don't know if they were in a current relationship. And also very strongly suspected of having murdered and disposed of the body of their 2-year-old daughter, Nadia Lee. So we'll look through some of the details. A Texas search and rescue team began trawling through an 8-foot deep landfill site, which is the size of a football pitch. They started trawling through this landfill on Monday to search for a missing 2-year-old girl whose father was spotted by a dumpster with a stroller. Nadia Lee was last seen in her father's apartment building in Pasadena, Texas on October the 15th, before her father, Jiron Charles Lee, was captured on surveillance footage pushing a stroller around a dumpster. Nadia's disappearance is being treated as a homicide. He has also since been arrested and charged with murdering his wife, as well as Nadia's mother. Her name is Nancy Reed, 22 years of age, and she's believed to have been strangled in a hotel room in Clear Lake, Houston. So the father, as yet, hasn't been charged in relation to the death or the murder of Nadia Lee, but he is seemingly a prime suspect, and he has been charged with the murder of Nadia's mother. Here is the alleged scumbag, Jiron Charles Lee, 26 years of age, charged with the murder of his wife. Sorry, they were married, and Nadia's mother, Nancy Reed, 22 years of age. Here's a picture of the landfill, the size of a football pitch, 8 foot deep. Every bag will be opened. So the article goes into quite a bit of a detail about the organization that will be performing the search. So it's going to be a huge task, a huge undertaking, and we're kind of familiar with this kind of situation, perhaps due to the Quinton Simon case, which is currently ongoing. I haven't been following the Quinton Simon case that closely, but as far as I understand, that young boy, I think he's also 2 years of age, is believed to have been dumped in a landfill site, which they've been searching for several days, perhaps a week or more, and they've not been able to recover Quinton Simon's body at this point, as far as I understand. So the article tells us that the alleged murderer, Jiron Charles Lee, had 5 children with his wife, Nancy Reed. 2 of those children were present when their mother was strangled to death. So the alleged murderer of his wife and potentially his own 2-year-old child is in jail, but on a $250,000 bond. And I've got to say, Houston, Texas, what the fuck are you playing at? $250,000 bond. This was Texas as well. This woman here, $75,000 bond. Texas, come on. You've got somebody in custody that you are seemingly very confident killed his 22-year-old wife, the mother of their 5 children. I guarantee they've got plenty of evidence. She was strangled. They found her body in a motel. There would be security footage of who was in and around the hotel room or the motel room. They would have plenty of evidence against this guy. I'm quite sure. That's speculation on my part, of course, but I'm quite sure they would. They've got surveillance footage of him walking around a dumpster, if I understand correctly, with their 2-year-old daughter, Nadia Lee, in a stroller, and then seemingly she's no longer in the stroller. $250,000 bond is not enough. That gives somebody the opportunity to get out. Okay, $25,000, if it's 10% to release him, $25,000 is a substantial amount of money. Not everyone's going to be able to have access to $25,000, but some people will. It's not enough. It makes it too easy for a potential murderer and child murderer to walk out of jail. And why would you want that? Why would you want to risk a potential child murderer walking the streets? You know, what's he going to do? He could kill himself. Don't get me wrong. I'm not seeking out protection for the guy. No, I don't give a fuck about that. Even if it was to deny justice, I don't care. If he wants to take his own life, no problems with that. Go ahead. Am I allowed to say that? Hopefully I am. YouTube, please put it in context. But what if he was to do a runner? What if he was to escape? What if he was to escape? Then what? The police have now got to throw millions of dollars at trying to find him. They've got to throw all of those resources and trying to catch this guy. Why would you do that? You want to run the risk of him getting away, running to Canada, running to Mexico, wherever it is, wherever he can attempt to start a new life. That's what you want to risk. Why would you do that, Texas? Just slap on a ridiculously high bond, which is unlikely to be achieved, so that he remains in jail until the time of a trial. So you guys, the police, the investigators, have enough time to build a very, very strong prosecutory case that they're able to perhaps get a confession. that they're able to get all of the evidence that they need, that they're perhaps able to find the body of Nadia Lee. You know, I don't know. There's just, what can the authorities do at this point in time? They can run an effective investigation. They can give assurances to the community that this is being taken seriously, and they can just try to fucking hold on to the prime suspect. And I don't know, $250,000 bond to me just isn't enough. I would jack it up to $2.5 million, and then that would virtually guarantee that he's going to remain in jail, remain in custody up until the point that a trial is ready to go ahead. So we're going to move on to the next article here. We're going to play a short video in just a moment. And this happened in Georgia. A 13-year-old boy was killed last week. It's an unsolved murder, and Georgia police are asking for help. So I'm going to play this video in just a moment. The 13-year-old boy, his name is Jamiron Crosby, if I pronounce that correctly. Jamiron Crosby. He was found dead in the woods behind a townhome in Lithonia, Georgia. Lithonia, Georgia. He was found in the woods September the 19th. He had been shot to death. So we're going to play a video which was taken from a neighbor's security camera at about 3 a.m., September the 18th. So the day prior to the discovery of Jamiron's body. And we're going to see two people walk through a homeowner's backyard. They're wearing masks and hoodies. One of them is believed to be the victim, Jamiron Crosby. So he was with a friend. So I believe the police want to know who this friend is, so that they can question that friend to see if he has any understanding as to what led to Jamiron's death. So we're going to watch this. So one of the boys is Jamiron, the victim, 13 years of age, wearing hoodies and masks. All right, so I'm going to perhaps say a controversial thing or two. I suppose we could even say a couple of controversial things, couldn't we? So first off, before I do, full condolences to the family concerned. The box is freaking me out a little bit at the moment. This is a home surveillance camera, and the video quality is very good on these home security cameras nowadays. Very good, extremely good. Of course, this isn't the best video. There is Jamiron. It's not the best video because it is taken at some distance. But generally, it is very good quality. I'm a little bit freaked out by the green box because that seems to be the AI, the artificial intelligence, just getting more and more effective in tracking us, which I'm typically not that bothered about, but I am here for some reason. I don't know. The AI is rapidly coming upon us. So I'm going to say something a little bit controversial. Wearing hoodies. Yes, people wear hoodies. We live in 2022. Hoodies have been a thing for quite a while now. A couple of decades, maybe more. We all wear hoodies. Young and old, we wear hoodies. Wearing hoodies, there's nothing wrong with that. But the masks. Should we be wearing masks? Ski masks. Masks that cover our face. Should we be wearing them? I listen to hip hop. I watch hip hop music videos. Gang culture, wearing masks is a thing. Why is it a thing? Well, some would say fashion, but that's not the real reason. People wear masks, perhaps because they don't want to be seen on camera. People wear masks because they're involved in criminal activity. They're involved in gang activity, which can involve drug dealing, can involve murder, robbery, all kinds of serious crimes. So, as much as I want to pass on condolences to the family of Jamiron Crosby, who has been killed, shot to death, 13 years of age, walking, as we see here, with his mate, by the look of it. And the police want to speak with his mate. The police want to identify his mate. But I got to think, boys, why were you wearing masks? Why were you walking through the neighborhood at 3 a.m.? Why was that happening? 13 years old. Okay, look, I'm not too much of an old fuddy-duddy. I used to do my thing back in the day in a middle class kind of level. 3 a.m., I wasn't going out at 3 a.m. until I was 16, 17, something like that. Maybe 15. 13 seems a little bit young. I've got to think that they were involved in gang activity. That's my thought. But we're going to move on to another case, which is a missing persons case. I've got to say thank you for Erica coming in. I hope I didn't scare you by my comment earlier. I'm glad you realized, so just wanted to give you a mod. Thanks for Erica for popping in. So I'm going to go through this missing persons case and then going to touch on a couple more uplifting cases. So yeah, we're going to carry on. I've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. I've got another 20 minutes or so in me left. Am I still holding up okay, Erica? If you're still here, am I still doing all right? But we're going to carry on. So this is a missing persons case. Police have launched a desperate search for a mother and her two daughters who have vanished from their home. The lady is called Yvonne Chimenei. Yvonne Chimenei, 43 years of age. She's with her two children, her two daughters, 18 years of age and 8 years of age. The 18-year-old is called Paris Rwambiwa. And Aisha, aged 8. They've gone missing from Southend, Essex. Erica says you're good. Thank you, Erica. Thank you. Yeah, they've been missing since Saturday at around midday, Southend, Essex. There is the mother, 43 years of age. Her name, I'm sure I'll pronounce it wrong, Yvonne Chimenei, missing with her two daughters. 18-year-old Paris, 8-year-old Aisha. Missing as of Saturday afternoon, around midday, from Southend, Essex. We have a description of the mother. They're all black. The mother is, hang on. Yes, Yvonne, the mother, is 5 foot 2 inches tall, with black shoulder length hair. She was last seen wearing a black jacket, blue jeans, white trainers, and she was carrying bags. So perhaps those bags contained clothing, and she was looking to disappear. We don't know. Paris, the 18-year-old on the left, is black, slim build, 5 foot 5 inches tall, with very long black hair. She was last seen wearing a green jacket, blue jeans, white trainers, and carrying a black rucksack. And Aisha, 8 years of age, on the right, 4 foot 11 inches tall, slim, with shoulder length black hair. Aisha was last seen wearing a pink tracksuit bottoms, a white top, a black jacket, white trainers, possibly carrying a blue or green trunky case. A trunky case. So the three of them have been missing as of Sunday. So I'll show an image of a trunky case because it is a recognizable thing, isn't it? A recognizable case. Let's see if we can have a look at that. A trunky case. So you can sit down on a trunky case. They're very popular in England. The three of them. So the mother, Yvonne Chimenei, and the two daughters, 18-year-old Paris, 8-year-old Aisha, the three of them missing. So, of course, if anyone has any information, if you happen to be in the local area, Southend, Essex, if you're a part of any social media groups, then please do drop a link to this video. Or, you know what, I'll try to make a standalone video in regards to this, but I do encourage anyone in the local area to promote this case as much as you can, just to increase awareness, just in case it leads to somebody coming forward with a little bit of information that might lead to I'm going to use the word recovery of the three. So seemingly they left with bags. Aisha had a trunkie that she left with. So seemingly this was a planned move, a planned disappearance. Maybe there's very good reason for that. But of course, we do want the mother to reach out to the authorities. If the children are able to do that in a safe manner, that would be encouraged too, if they're able to. Just to let people know that they are safe and well, just to give some level of indication that everything's okay. And of course, we do hope and pray that everything is. So we're now going to move on to just a few more articles, which are just going to provide us with a little bit of relief. They're not quite as depressing as the other articles that we've gone through, and we do need to protect our mental health. We don't need to listen to me waffle on for an hour and a half every day, because it gets too depressing, even at the best of times. So we're going to look through something with some topics that there's a little bit of a silver lining. And this first one is in regards to the gentleman that you see in front of you, James Gordon Meek. I made a video in regards to James a few weeks back. He's a journalist, and all of a sudden his property, his apartment, was raided by the FBI. We don't know why it was raided, but the FBI apparently seized multiple documents, which may have included classified documents, which he may or may not have had the right to be in possession of. But he was unexpectedly raided by the FBI, and shortly after that, he was disappeared. So there was a lot of speculation that he might have been killed, that he might have been in the custody of the FBI or government bodies or this body or that body. He was writing a book to be published. He's got a deal with a major publisher, I think Simon and Schuster, is that right? And the book was to be in regards to the Afghanistan evacuation, or the withdrawal of United States troops from Afghanistan, which happened. When did that happen? Was that last year? Under the Biden administration. And if we recall, there were all kinds of problems. Billions of dollars worth of military vehicles were left in Afghanistan, subsequently taken by the Taliban, sold to other nation states. Am I allowed to say these things? I mean, I think those are all facts, aren't they? Certainly, that is what we're told from some news outlets. More importantly, some American citizens and some American military personnel were left behind. There was an evacuation. Many or most US citizens US military personnel were escorted out of the country after, if I recall, the Taliban basically said, hey guys, you better get the fuck out of here. Otherwise, we're going to do what we do. But I believe I'm right in saying that there's at least speculation that some were left behind. And seemingly, gone on a bit of a tangent perhaps, but seemingly this journalist was writing a book on that subject, James Gordon Meek. So there were a lot of fears about him, about that he was being offed, that he was being Hillaried. But seemingly he's alive and well. So there's the blessing. He has been spotted. He's still keeping himself to himself. He's still low key. But he has emerged from hiding. But he is refusing to go public at this point in time. So I believe he's still, he's not giving interviews or explaining his disappearance. He's not discussing the subject. He's still doing his best to maintain his privacy and security, as far as I understand. But he has been spotted last Thursday at his elderly mother's townhouse in McLean, Virginia. Seemingly, he was spotted by a journalist, paparazzi or such. Seemingly, he was approached by the journalist, and seemingly he refused to answer questions. So he perhaps regrets being caught by the journalists concerned. But I think there's a bit of a blessing here that we do know that he's alive, because there was a lot of fear that he had been killed. Anyway, there's an update to that subject there. So we're going to move on to this subject here. And again, there's a silver lining with this one. I did make a video in regards to this missing persons case back in September. A middle school teacher disappeared. So she lived with her family in Brazoria County, Texas, and then she disappeared on September the 28th. She claimed that she was going to get something to eat, and she never came home. Disturbingly, her car was found abandoned in New Orleans with her phone and belongings inside. And then there were several clips of surveillance footage that caught her in and around the New Orleans area. And there was fears that she would commit suicide, that, she traveled there, and there was footage of her walking towards the river or such. Forgive me. Would that be the Mississippi River? I don't know. I'm not from America, but a river in New Orleans, I believe. And so thankfully, she has been found alive in Louisiana. So it tells us that she's been located. Her name is Michelle Reynolds, 48 years of age. She is alive and well. She is with her family. And that's as much information as we have. So the family has decided not to provide the public with too much information at this point. They want to protect their privacy, rightfully so. But I think it is a big relief for those that have worried for her. And there is a community. I've got a Twitter account. I've got a fraction under 3,000 followers. And a lot of the people that I follow, the 4,000 that I follow, they post various missing persons reports. And so I've got into the habit of posting missing persons reports and making videos in regards to some missing people. I think it's important to do. And so it is a relief, a blessing, a silver lining to learn that Michelle Reynolds is alive and well, and she is with her family. Whatever the issue is, perhaps it still exists. We don't live in a Disneyland fairy tale. So if there were problems there, whatever those problems happen to be, I'm sure they've not gone away in an instant. But at the very least, we do know that she's alive and well, and hopefully that will remain the case and she's able to return back to her normal life, if that's something that she chooses to do and is able to do. But in any case, I'm glad to see that she is alive. So I'm now going to move on to the last topic. Yeah, I'm going to move on to the last topic, and this is another case which I have covered previously, and I perhaps might say a couple of controversial things. So we're going to go through the details. Cassius Turvey. I'll go through, show you this article. So we've got some pictures of Cassius Turvey, 15 years of age. He was killed. He was walking home from school in Australia, in Perth, an area called Middle Swan. This happened on October the 13th. He was walking home from school with 3 friends. A car pulled up. The driver or such, somebody within the vehicle, started abusing, verbally insulting Cassius and his 3 friends. They're all Aboriginal, I believe. Certainly Cassius is Aboriginal. And the guy got out of the car and chased after all of the boys. All of the boys ran. And Cassius was cornered. He was beaten heavily by several men. I think it's 3 men in total. He was beaten and he was hit with a metal pipe, allegedly. Severely injured. He suffered serious head injuries. He spent 5 days in hospital. Cassius was discharged from hospital, and just hours after leaving the hospital, he suffered a seizure. He also suffered 2 strokes. He was rushed back to hospital, and tragically, he died on Sunday. It's now Thursday evening in Australia. So the attack happened October the 13th. Cassius Turvey, 15 years of age, was hospitalized after being beaten, including with a metal pipe, and tragically, he died last Sunday. So one man has been arrested, this scumbag here, Jack Stephen James Brearley, 21 years of age, I believe. Yeah, 21 years of age. He's been charged with unlawful wounding for his alleged role in the attack, but that charge has now been upgraded to murder, I believe, at this point. There are 2 other men, I believe. Yeah, there were 2 other men that have not been identified at this point. But Cassius, and here's a better picture of Cassius when he's fit and well. Cassius was able to identify at least this one man. He was identified 2 people by photos on the night that he was attacked. There was also a second attack on another boy who was down the street, and when Cassius was lying in the street after having been beaten, Cassius heard another boy scream, and that other boy was also walking home on crutches, and that boy was subsequently beaten, and I believe it's alleged that the scumbag that has been charged with murder in regards to the death of Cassius Turvey, the scumbag has since been charged with the attack on the 13-year-old boy, the boy with the crutches. It's absolutely terrible. There is a GoFundMe. Let me show you the GoFundMe. Do I have that? I should have that somewhere. But there is this tragic case here. But what I want to go through is, somewhat of an update. There's been quite a large vigil for him. So his murder happened in Perth, but around Australia, there's been multiple vigils in memorial of Cassius Turvey. So we're going to look through the details. Thousands have taken to the streets to mourn Indigenous teenager Cassius Turvey, who died after he was allegedly beaten with a metal pole as he walked home from school. Attendees held posters, candles, and Aboriginal flags in honor of the 15-year-old Noongar Yamatji boy, who was allegedly bashed just minutes after he got off a school bus in Middle Swan, Perth, October the 13th. Cassius suffered severe head injuries in the attack, and tragically he died in hospital surrounded by his loved ones. So I'm glad to read that he died surrounded by his loved ones. Let me just refresh. So this article is just confirming some of the details that we already know, that Jack Stevens, James Brearley has been charged in relation to Cassius's death. But the reason why we're going through this article now is because there have been numerous vigils for Cassius as a way of a memorial for the 15-year-old boy. So we're just going to have a look through that. Here's a picture of Sydney's town hall with thousands of people that came out to be united in their grief in regards to the death of Cassius Turvey. So that's amazing. That's a very large turnout. Yeah. Many television stars and political figures came out as well in memorial of Cassius. And I applaud this, but I am going to say something controversial. And perhaps I do so from a place of ignorance. So, a lot of the imagery we see here, the flag here is an Aboriginal flag. Forgive me if I got this wrong, but I believe those would be Aboriginal patterns. This is very much the Aboriginal community coming together in regards to the death of Cassius, which is completely understandable, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, it's probably a great thing. But I'm going to say something controversial, and that is, I don't know, like in this kind of situation, I feel that there can be a little bit too much grandstanding. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, Cassius deserves this kind of remembrance, these kind of multiple memorials. It's a wonderful thing, and here we've got Ernie Dingo, who's Aboriginal and an Aboriginal TV presenter. He's a legend in Australia, and he was in Sydney as a part of the vigil. So it is great, but my controversial thing that I'm going to say is that I do think that sometimes these situations can be over politicized. And well, I'm going to say this. To me, obviously, I don't know Cassius. He seems like an ever so sweet boy. And I made a video and I've had more than 2,000 views, which is a lot for me. And I'm very grateful to that so many people came in to watch, to make a comment, to think about Cassius for a moment or two. I'm sure they've been thinking about Cassius nonstop since the attack mid-October. But I'm so grateful that they came into my video to just to spend a few more moments thinking about Cassius and perhaps saying a prayer for him. But I honestly, I'm not going to be able to say this very well, but he would have been more than just his race. I don't want to take away from the Aboriginal aspect, but to me, regardless of his race. He would have been a sweet, innocent boy. Yeah. One of the people that commented, one of the boys, I guess, one of his schoolmates, I think he said he was his best mate, commented that Cassius was the one that was most likely to succeed out of his group of mates. He was the one that had it all. He was, from one of the comments on the video that I made, uh, one of his friends said that Cassius, he looked up to Cassius, that Cassius was the one that was going to break out and succeed in life. He had it all, a nice guy, intelligent. So very strong praise for young Cassius. And to me, it just transcends the race aspect of it. And I feel just a little bit uncomfortable about the focus on the race. That's my feeling. Apologies if anyone finds that offensive. I think the Aboriginal aspect is an important aspect of this case. It is alleged, I believe, that this was a hate crime. So it is relevant to have it a very prominent aspect. But at the same time, I just feel that Cassius would have been more than just his race, Am I saying things? Am I suffering a little bit of clumsy thought processes? I'm not trying to diminish the Aboriginal aspect. I think it's great that the Aboriginal community came out to support, to remember, to show respect to Cassius and his family, of course. But I just have a feeling that he is so much more than his race. So I just feel, I don't know, I wanted to make a comment about that. And I know that's going to be controversial. It's not meant to be offensive. I'm not sure if too many people will watch this video, certainly at this point. But anyway, I'm going to express those thoughts there. This is what I want to do. I'm going to read out a comment. From his Cassius's mother, if I can find it, which perhaps I can't. But Cassius's mother has called for no more violence. So there is a lot of anger, understandably so, within the Aboriginal community, within the town that Cassius is from. There's going to be people that will want to take revenge. And in all honesty, I completely understand that. But we don't want anger on the streets, and Cassius's mother has made a statement which let me just try to find Cassius's mother's statement. But in essence, she's calling for people to remain calm. Here we go. Michelle Turvey, Cassius's mother, read a statement at the vigil, or one of the vigils. She said, "I don't want any more violence. I'm the only person who can get justice for my son. I need to call out for calm. I am angry. Cassius's friends and family are angry. But I don't want any form of violence at any of these rallies in the name of my child. Violence breeds more violence." So yeah, I respect those words. Seemingly there are going to be more rallies in regards to Cassius. The more I learn about this, the more uncomfortable I am about it. I'm going to say these words. I know they may be controversial, but I'm thinking of George Floyd. And I have to say, from my opinion, which some of you may disagree with, I mean, that was 100%, 1000%, 10,000% politicized, the whole situation, to the point that there were massive riots in multiple cities, which caused death and destruction. People died in those riots, branded by the mainstream media as being peaceful protests. Literally, people died. buildings were burnt down when people were in them. Multiple buildings were burnt down. The rioters destroyed buildings which had just been built or were in the process of being completed, that had a value of millions of dollars and that were being built for low housing people. Businesses destroyed, streets destroyed, areas, suburbs destroyed, the local community destroyed. And all those protests and the riots and the I can't think of the right terms, but the taking over of certain areas, Chaz, and all of this other thing, that went on for months. The domination within the media went on for, I don't know, a year or more, however long. I mean, the trial of the officers involved, and I'm not going to go through my opinion because that's too controversial. But the trial was all massively politicized, and I mean, my take on what the mother is saying, part of what the mother is saying, there's a big message within the few words that she said in that statement that I read out. Part of what I feel she's saying is she doesn't want this to be politicized. She doesn't want violence to occur in her son's name, in some form of pretense that it's to do with Cassius, because it wouldn't be. If there was violence in rallies, it wouldn't be because of Cassius. It would be because of whatever other political agendas such people have. Am I being too much of an arsehole? I don't know. To me, the important thing is that a young man, regardless of his race, a young man's life was taken away. He was horrifically beaten by a coward and a piece of shit. I don't promote violence. However, I do hope that justice is served, that guy gets life in prison, and that the inmates have the opportunity to have a word with the alleged culprit, to speak with that alleged culprit, to have a nice little comfortable chat with him about how they feel about his involvement with beating Cassius to death with a metal pole, if indeed that is found to be the case in a court of law. So I would not want to see violence on the streets. I would not want to see riots in the name of Aboriginal rights or whatever. It's just, to me, it's inappropriate. And it seems that there's some level of grandstanding, some level of politicization going on here. That's how it seems to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading into things incorrectly. But anyway, those are my thoughts. I did kind of want to end on a bit of a higher note, but perhaps I haven't. Here is the GoFundMe. Justice, #justice for Cassius. They've well exceeded their goal, 663,000. Look, and I'm going to be an asshole again. I'm going to be an asshole. Okay, I'm happy for the family. They've got more than enough. in all honesty, if I'm to be honest, I'm just going to express my gut feeling. I'm not doing so to be offensive, but my gut feeling is they've raised too much. It's not the family's fault. Seemingly, there's going to be a large funeral with a lot of guests, security, and what have you. So there's going to be a requirement for a large amount of money. I can understand why people would want to donate to this GoFundMe. I mean, I would, if I was in a position to, I would likely donate. Certainly a worthy cause, but my feeling is that it's too much. The reason why it's $663,000, which again, I'm not trying to, can't think of the right word. I'm not trying to take away from the family. I don't feel the family's done anything wrong at all. but it's got to be due to politicization, isn't it? Am I using the wrong word? I just, it's, yeah, I just feel that there's a bit of a using, not from the family, but perhaps from certain political groups that are using this situation. That's my rough feeling. How accurate that is, I don't know, but I find it a little distasteful. But maybe I'm just being unreasonable. So I'm going to wrap things up here. I believe Erica has stuck with me for a good 1 hour, 45 minutes. Thank you so much, Erica. You deserve your position of moderator. You're going to join a few others. So gonna wrap things up here. If you're listening after the fact, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. I've enjoyed doing this. I did feel nervous up until Erica chipped in, and just that one comment just makes me feel a lot more comfortable. So thank you again. And I'm going to be trying to, no problem, Erica says, no problem. Thank you, Erica. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to be trying to do live streams regularly, probably not every day, and I'm not good enough to like commit to a certain time, but I will try to do things earlier to cater to the United States audience, because I've got 3,000 Twitter followers that I need to cater to. 2,999, nice, that I got to cater to. So I might try to do things earlier, but I like what I've done. Like I like going through these articles. I don't prepare them 100%, and I trip over a few words, and I know that everything gets a little bit boring from time to time. But I think I cover some important topics to cover, and hopefully we can have a little bit of a discussion here and there, and hopefully we can even have a little bit of a joke here and there, is what I'm hoping. So I've enjoyed doing this tonight with Erica's company. Thanks for holding my hand. So I'll wrap things up at this point, but stay tuned for more. And I think I'll start doing this regularly and perhaps a little bit earlier. But anyway, thanks, guys. Take care.